Are you feeling like a fraud and like you don't belong where you are? Like you shouldn't have gotten that position at work. You're just not good enough and you don't deserve to be there, and someone really made a mistake and soon you will be discovered. If those thoughts enter your mind, you might be suffering from imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is that feeling that you shouldn't be where you are and that you are undeserving of your accomplishments. You can be any age, any gender, any group whatsoever on earth and get an imposter syndrome. Throughout my life, I've been a high achiever, but I haven't really realized that because of the imposter syndrome. I lived in 4 different countries, got scholarships to study first my undergrad in the Netherlands and then did do my master's in the US. I worked in tech for the last 6 years, and before that I actually been in private equity. For the last 2 years we've been building our business Wild Dog, where we create clean products for pets. That's my journey, very condensed without a lot of details. But with every move, with every new achievement, I didn't feel like I achieved anything, and I still felt like I'm an imposter. No matter what award I got or a scholarship, I really thought, and I still think usually, that someone made a mistake and that cannot be true. And I appreciate when I get something and I enjoy it, but always on the back of my mind is that voice. Why is that voice dangerous? Well, first of all, you don't really trust yourself. You do something and then you're not sure how well you're doing, so you don't have this action and reward system in place. So imagine you keep doing tasks at work and you're getting the results, but then at the same time you don't believe those results that you're getting are justified. So you keep doing more and more and more and more, but at the same time, while you're getting the external rewards or some acknowledgement of your achievement and work, in your head you don't feel it. And that's a big issue, because no matter how much you do, you don't feel rewarded. And it makes you very tired, you become very prone to burnout. You're stuck in this endless loop of achieving, of doing things, without feeling the joy that comes from the results of your work. Those individuals, including myself, who suffer from imposter syndrome, are actually quite prone to anxiety and depression. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because if you endlessly trying to do something and then don't believe in your results and in your successes, then of course you will be anxious. So that's another actually negative consequence. You really close down and you don't voice your voice. You try to pretend to be someone else and try to really see, oh, that person is successful, I will try to behave like that person, and that's when I will do better. And you exert so much energy to be someone else, so you're also exhausted all the time, you're sick all the time. That's just tiring, that cannot go on. The scariest thing is that you don't realize that these feelings are not you. I think the first time I realized that those feelings are not actually me, there was a really cool women's community in the company where I work, and I joined that community as a leader to do some presentations, but I also went to a lot of workshops. Some woman who is pretty successful in her own business was given a speech, and she specifically mentioned imposter syndrome and how she always, throughout her journey, doubted her decisions. And she seemed so well spoken, so successful, so beautiful, like everything she got together. And she's been thinking she's an imposter, her business shouldn't belong to her, and she just built it by accident and made it successful by accident. And I think that really helped, because at that point a lot of women in the comments started to say that we feel the same way. It was kind of a life-changing moment for me, really unexpectedly, and just something hit me, you know, like the light bulb went on, and I was like, oh my god, I think I have that thing. And a lot of people do, and it kind of sucks. But I'm not alone. It's not that there is something wrong with me, it's just that thing, which is an imposter syndrome, makes me feel that way. And it makes all these women in this room feel the same way as well. Yeah, you see, I'm like getting all these emotions right now, because again, it's still a topic that's really close to me, and that's still something that I'm working through. When I first started recording this video, I was like, I combated the imposter syndrome, I did so well, it took me 3 years, well, 4 years. But that's not true, because the more deeply I digged into myself, I realized I still feel like an imposter, but the major difference is I can actually distinguish my voice from the imposter voice and tell the imposter voice to stop. So there are a few things that I did to get to the stage. And I know it's not, it's like it's salvation and the stage is just your final battle with imposter syndrome, but they do help. The first thing I did, and I kind of already mentioned it, is really realizing that you're not alone. Because if you're alone struggling with something, then you're really internalizing that and you think there's something wrong with me. If you know that there's a whole group of like-minded people going through the same thing, it means there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the system, the upbringing, and we're all going through it together and we're gonna succeed because we openly talk about it. So join the groups at your work, in your school, work with a therapist if that's a path for you. Just talk about it openly and realize there's so many people suffering from imposter syndrome. It's building those connections, stepping out of your shell. That really helps. So that's number one. Number two, really commit to challenging projects. In my case, that was creating a business. So my husband and I, we'd been working full-time when we started the business, and usually everyone talks about starting the business, but no one really does. So the fact that we actually committed to it, we spent every single weekend on the farmers market first testing our ideas. We opened small stores, we went to events, and we did that all in our free time. And the fact that we stuck with it for 2 years and actually built something tangible, something nice, something to be proud of, really helped me with my imposter syndrome, because I realized it's a complicated project that we took on. It required a lot of creativity, seeking new knowledge, testing things out. We never did sales before, and there we were standing during the weekend on a farmer's market selling our product. And I started to believe in myself. I started to believe in my own vision. I started to trust my own voice more. I can do all of this myself. Wow, is it really true? Am I actually good enough, right? So I started to question that syndrome. It can be any project that you've been talking about for the longest time. I want to do that, I want to do that. Just do that. And you will see how your confidence shifts and how your imposter syndrome decreases. So yes, second, take hard projects. Don't just take them on, complete them. That's important part too, right? So from start to finish, and you'll see how your attitude towards yourself starts to shift. This actually yields us towards number 3, which is record your achievements. Make the goals and record those achievements on paper. And with the business, that's what we've been doing. We want to sell X amount of product on farmers market. That's how many online sales we want to make. I was writing goals, we were achieving them, and then I could put a check mark against every single goal, right? And that also was really hard to argue with, right? I sealed it proof on paper that I achieve things that I want. I dream of wild things and I still achieve them. I materialize them and I put those things into fruition. I do that myself and I have a proof on paper to prove that. Here is the paper, right? When imposter syndrome sees this, he or she or they can't argue with that, because that's the proof, that's a tangible proof that you are doing well and you're doing a great job. The last thing that really helped me, and it kind of really intersects this point too, really taking hard initiatives. So number 4 is doing the hardest thing you think is possible for yourself. And for me, it was taking a risk and speaking up. It was really hard to speak up for me in the room of really smart people, in the room of well-spoken people, in the room of people whose native language is English and they speak so well and they express themselves so well. I really struggled with that, and as I mentioned, I've been hiding myself. And I really didn't feel comfortable to speak my opinions, which were valid and honestly amazing at times. But I just didn't speak them, so people didn't know how amazing I was. People didn't know that I'm capable. People didn't know that I'm well-spoken, well, because I didn't speak, of course they didn't know. I really took this challenge on, and it was a tough journey. For everyone who's been going through this, who is by nature modest, that might be something very challenging to do, right? And I started slowly just speaking up in meetings, trying to ask questions, and it was really bad at first because I was worried. I was getting all this emotional response. This emotional response most likely comes from some trauma, and as the primal beings, like back to our origins, we were afraid to be excluded from the tribe, right? Because exclusion from the tribe meant death. Well, my ancient brain, which is in this modern body, really associated speaking up with death, right? Because our brains haven't evolved that much. Just technology evolved, our world has evolved. But our core is the same of that ancient being. Just evolution can't catch up with the progress that occurs right now in the society. So that ancient brain of mine really says pretty much, you're gonna get killed if you speak up in a meeting. But you see how messed up of the thinking process it is, even though that's what was happening. I started to speak up, and it was bad at first, and I was like, well, no one killed me, no one fired me, it's not too bad. It's kind of bad, but I'm trying, and I made a challenge for myself to try, so who cares if I get fired? If whatever happens, it's fine, it's worth it. So I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And I think at this stage, I'm pretty good in expressing my opinion. You create this new neural pathways in your brain. So you do the hardest thing imaginable, which is probably associated with potential death in your brain, right? So your primal brain. And you do that thing and you don't see this potential death. You actually see some nice results from doing that hardest thing. So your brain forms new neural connections and new relationship. So instead of associating this thing with death, like for me speaking up with death, it actually associates speaking up with rewards. You're being viewed as a leader, you're growing your career, you're growing in your business, you're becoming more outspoken and more well-spoken, right? All those benefits. So it's a new neural connection that happens, and how amazing it is. It's really rewarding. So I think it was really worthwhile for me to take a risk. I think the point number 4 actually reduced my imposter syndrome the most. So when I hear it now, it's like, don't speak up, you're not smart enough. I really know that it's not myself, and I should stop questioning myself, and I should just really speak up my truth and speak what I think. And that's gonna be fine. I can catch my imposter syndrome now, kind of whispering in my ear and telling me what to do, but I'm pretty much telling it to shut up and not listening to it anymore. Still comes up. I'm sure we're gonna live a long and happy life together, my imposter syndrome and I, but I can control it, and that's the power. My hope that you learned something from this video and it's been helpful for you, and this honest take on imposter syndrome. I know it doesn't guarantee you rainbows and butterflies, that you're gonna solve all your problems and imposter syndrome will go away, but I really hope it helps you. And it helps you not to feel alone, and it helps you to realize that we're in this together and we can overcome it. I hope you have a good day, and I hope that was helpful.